There are currently 11 days left in 2023 as I'm recording this, so I figured I'd use my genius intellect to predict 2024. I'm predicting 2024 for two reasons. One, it's an election year, and two, because it's an election year, they're gonna add some spice to the election with a few shenanigans. So let's get into the election. Now, I'm predicting a stolen election. I know they're trying to demonize Trump and put him in jail and discredit him. I don't think they're going to be successful with that. I think he's actually going to debate in 2024, but I don't think he's going to win because they're going to steal the election. Now, they're going to do this with the methods I will mention later in this video. But for now, let's focus on Trump. And to be clear, I'm not a Trump fanboy. I don't agree with everything he does. I don't think he's the Lord and Savior that everybody says he is. He's still cucked out to the liberals. But he's definitely the best candidate there is. I don't think they're going to assassinate Trump. If they wanted to, here's how they'd do it. Now this ties into Biden here for a sec. Now I don't know if Biden's mental state is going to last till the next election. We'll have to see if it does, but if it doesn't, here's how they could pull a double whammy. One, they're going to get a Trump supporter, MAGA extremist, quotation marks obviously, definitely not three-letter government agency tied, to assassinate Biden. Because if Biden's mental state deteriorates enough and he doesn't do what they say, they're probably going to assassinate him. Or, to put it in Biden's words, he's going to catch a disease and he's going to have to resign.
Hey, like I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign.
I personally think the more likely option is the assassination option, because if they can assassinate him and frame it on someone who is an avid Trump supporter, this discredits Trump and will make the general public dislike him, even though they're starting to like him. It'll make him dislike Trump, and therefore stand almost no chance of winning any future elections. Now, if some extremist kills Biden, then a liberal extremist might counter back by trying to kill Trump, or killing Trump, I should say. Now, with this move, they've gotten rid of Biden, and they've gotten rid of Trump. This is good for them, because Trump is their biggest political opposition, and Biden would have not been going along with what they said. Now, personally, I don't think they're going to go down this route. That's just a theoretical scenario which I'm predicting would happen if the second option happens, but the more likely option that I'm predicting is a Trump versus Biden debate, because if they can drug up Biden enough, give him enough ice cream and 11-year-old girls, I think he'll be smooth sailing through 2024. Now, after that, I don't think he's going to make it to 2028. If he wins the election, they're probably going to have to get rid of him within his next presidency. I simply don't see a way his mental state lasts another 4 years. I think to wrap up the Biden presidency, they're going to do what I said earlier with the assassination thing. This way, they will have used Biden, because he would have had no mental state if he wins the 2024 election, and therefore still be going on with what they said because he has no mental state, and by the time 2028 comes, he can't run for elections anymore, therefore they just kill him, and killing him, with the method I said earlier, would discredit Trump. So now that we've talked candidates, and I know there are other candidates, I'm not going to touch on them because I don't think they're relevant, and I don't think they stand any chance of winning the election, so therefore I'm not going to mention them. Let's get into how they're going to steal the election. I think they're going to go the disease route again. Now, they could do other routes. I think this is the most likely route for a few reasons. One, it worked last time, and people have woken up. I say woken up, but they haven't really woken up, quotation marks again, because they still keep falling for all the new psyops, and less people will comply as they did last time. But not everybody has to comply. It just has to be enough for them to steal the election. So it doesn't matter if almost no one complies. It just has to be enough to get those votes in and make it seem plausibly deniable that it was stolen. So if there is another scamdemic, I don't think as many people will comply as they did the first one, but not everyone has to comply for it to be successful. It just has to be enough to steal the election, and if they get Trump off of enough ballots, which they are actively trying to do, and combine that with the disease, I think it's quite likely that they could get away with it. Now, with this scamdemic, they're also going to usher in a few things, one of which is CBDCs. And with the CBDCs comes a social credit score system. Now, this will only work if at least 50% of or enough people to implement this comply. and I will touch on how to counter everything which I'm saying later. And they're going to attempt the CBDCs and do the social credit score thing on the back end at first. And here's how they're going to implement the CBDCs. Because there's this deadly virus going around with a 99.8% survival rate that's going to kill your friend's grandma who's 96 and has pneumonia. Obviously, you don't want to pay with cash, right? That's, it has germs on it. It's in person. You're within arm's reach of the person you're giving cash to. Yeah, there's a lot of room for transmission of dangerous diseases with 99.8% survival rates. So wouldn't it be easier just to pay with a central digital currency that everybody around the world can use, and it's definitely not being tracked and will be used to implement a social credit score in the future? So that's how they're going to do the CBDCs. Now, with this virus, obviously I already said that they're going to use it to steal the election. And one of the reasons they're going to use it to steal the election is with mail-in ballots. Because this disease is going to kill your friend's grandma, there's a 0.2% chance you could die from it. Obviously, you don't want to vote in person. You want to send in your mail votes, which are 100% fair. There no tampering at all. 100% fair. Will be counted. Your vote matters. Definitely will not see any random increases in Joe Biden votes at 4 in the morning that look like a 90-degree angle, and now he's winning. That will not happen. So that's how they're going to use the disease to steal the election and implement the CBDCs and the social credit score at the back end. Now, I'd like to address one more topic, and that is the possibility of a civil war. I personally don't think this is likely. If Biden's mental state deteriorates enough and they do have to assassinate him and blame it on Trump, and then they complete their other half of the plan, which is using an angry liberal to assassinate Trump, this would probably not be good for the state of the political divide in this country. Now, this may cause a civil war. But if Biden's mental state lasts, which I predict it will, I think this will all be avoided. But if Biden's mental state doesn't last, this could happen. Although, like I said before, he's got 11 months to last for his mental state. It might happen, it might not. So just look out for that potential curveball. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because if the country is engulfed in a civil war and there's a lot of chaos and destruction and distraction, this can be used to usher in their new government and their new systems. They effectively skip all the necessary implementations and the slow implementations, which is a reason why I'm not putting it off the table yet, even though I think it's the slightly less likely version of what's going to happen. Because if they offer their solution as a solution to this chaos, then people are more likely to take it, and therefore their new global government has now been established in the most powerful country on earth. And when one country has it, the other countries will soon follow. Because the world will be so distraught by the civil war, they will also be blindsided to this agenda and this world government. And if it's offered as the one solution, it can be implemented all around the world because people are scared and people don't want this to happen again. So therefore, they will be willing to accept this new way of life and this new agenda. Actually, at that point, it won't even be an agenda. It'll be reality. So that's all the major predictions for 2024. Now, I know that sounded pretty pessimistic and dark, but those are just predictions. And while those are most likely to happen and be attempted, it's not set in stone. You control whether or not they're successful. They can only try. You are the one who determines if it's successful. So while the future may seem dark, it doesn't have to be. They can only try. And if you resist and you say no, what are they going to do? Everything that they will have tried will have failed. So therefore, the future is bright. Because another one of my predictions is I predict humanity will eventually wake up and realize everything that is being tried is a lie, is a scam, and will resist and say no, and therefore it will fail. Now, it may not be 100% of the population, but it'll be way more than it's ever been. And I would like to remind you that the American Revolution was won when only 5% of the colonists stood up. The most powerful empire in the world was destroyed, and its reach stopped, shattered, by only 5% of the population. And nowadays, 5% of the population is millions and millions and millions. So it really doesn't take much. Just say no, resist, make sure everybody else resists, tell as many people as you can to resist. And that's all it takes to shatter their agenda. Their evil master plan, gone. Like Thanos, snapped away because you resisted. So I'd like to end 2023 with that thought. So anyway, have a happy new year. Absolutely crush next year. Resist. And I will see you all quite soon. And remember, I'll never kill myself.